We are at the top of the, or I should say, are we at the top of the hour? We're at the top of the hour. Let me get this. All right, so let's get going. Welcome everybody. It is, what is today? Today is, I feel like it's like the never-ending twilight zone. We're in June already, June 18th, if you can believe it. I can hardly believe it. It's pretty cool that we're here. Today, you guys are going to learn about the 6 shocking differences between a will and a trust. Holy moly, who knew it could be so interesting? Ha 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 ha. Well, there's so many of you on the call today that I'm guessing it must be interesting. So here we go. We're going to dig right in. Now, this is being recorded because we had some people who said they want this info and they couldn't get here at this time, so we're going to record this. And we'll be here for, I got about 45 minutes to go through this. I'll have some time at the end to go through and answer some of the questions that we've already received. And let's just dig right in. Hopefully you all have good audio and you can hear just fine. If you cannot, there's a phone number you can dial right there on your screen and you will be able to connect right into the phone audio system to hear everything. You may not, if something happens to the video and you can't quite get the video, you'll survive. You'll at least get the audio. So make sure you grab that phone number. If your internet starts to get a little goofy or something, you can jump in onto the phone line, all right? Now, like I said, today's topic, 6 shocking differences between a will and a trust. And, first I just welcome you guys. I mean, I congratulate you. Good job. You are digging into some stuff that, most people don't want to dig into. It gets avoided. So welcome. I really want to welcome you. If you don't know me, my name is Francisco Servent. I'm the founder of Keystone Law Firm. I got sick and tired of the way lawyers did things when as I was kind of growing up in the industry, started my own firm. We're now in our 13th year, and it's just exciting to be able to do things differently because what I started to get suspicious about was that, hey, is the government out there to take it, to protect us? I mean, this day and age where we get these really diametrically opposed viewpoints on all of this. If you've ever thought that lawyers were out to get you, well, I hope I can share with you something today that will give you the tools you need for your family so that lawyers can't take advantage of you. Because the last thing I want is for any of my clients, anybody who is in my earshot, to get taken advantage of. And I just don't want you to end up like some of the horror stories we run into. One of them was just an atrocious story where Adult Protective Services they ended up draining over $200,000 out of this guy's tiny little precious nest egg, and over the last about year of his life, while they accused somebody of exploiting him, they ended up being able to make sure that lawyers and social workers and accountants and all these people appointed by the court got paid over $100,000 out of his estate because he didn't have everything organized. And so what I'm going to share with you guys today is exactly how to do that for your family. So these are really my goals for today. I want you to know you can absolutely guarantee that your family will see that you took care of them in the end. And that the only way to do that the way to do that is through a revocable living trust, okay? And the only way to guarantee that your revocable living trust is good from now all the way through until the end is something we call the Trust Care Program. And I'm going to go through that too. Now, like everything lawyers do, we have to be careful. We have to be mindful. And one of the things I have to be mindful about is that the state bar gives me my license to practice. So I can't just, I can't break any of those laws either. So first, we have to make sure you all understand. I'm not giving specific legal advice for you right now. This is not specific advice for your situation. This is general information of an educational nature. I hope you learned something through this. If you have specific questions, if you have a certain situation that you want advice on, then I'll tell you how we do that at the end. So stick around. I'm happy to share that with you. It's not a big secret, but it's not specific for you today. Don't go run out and make a whole bunch of changes. You know, get some specific questions answered. What I'm going to share with you is the general principles that we've used to protect. I think we're about $800 or $900 million of our assets so far, with a 100% success rate. None of our clients' plans have been torn apart, ripped open, thrown out by the court, successfully defeated by a beneficiary, overturned by the IRS. None of them have been, because we take care of getting it done right and take care of making sure it's good all the way through to the end. So that's what I'm going to share with you, so hopefully you learn how this stuff works, okay? This is my wife and my kid. This is why I do what I do. My wife, Nicole, my 4 kids, Gabe, Bella, Sophie, and Zach. That's what I love about who we get to work with. If you're on this web class, I have in my mind a picture that you've got somebody in your life that you love, that you care about. And that's what's neat about doing what I do, is we get to work with people who are absolutely committed to living out your family's values now before you leave this world later, because you don't want it to be too late to take care of your family. And so that's what we do. We've done this hundreds, probably thousands of times now. I'm a 2-time author. I love what I do. I love taking care and helping families and making sure you get to take care of your family. What we're going to specifically cover today, this is where I would start taking notes if you weren't just super amazed at that first part to take notes in. Here's where I would start to take notes, okay? So get out your pen, your pencil, piece of paper, or maybe you're typing notes into the computer. Here is what you want to get down. 3 things. What are the differences between a will and trust during a medical emergency? Number 2, I'm going to take a break on the differences because I want to show you some similarities. There's some important similarities. And then number 3, back to the differences. Who controls your money and your property with a will versus a trust? Okay? So that's going to be your outline for today. We're going to dig in on this. We've got about 45 minutes to cover everything. Look, I promise you, I'm going to leave you at the end of this wanting more. You're going to feel like you didn't tell me enough. I still have questions about this. I'm sorry. I'm only got 45 minutes. You'll have to come back. We are doing these web classes all through the summer, every single week. We're either building deeper into one topic or teaching on more additional topics. So make sure you come back every week. Next Thursday, every Thursday at noon. Just come on down. I mean, you can come to all of them. So don't hesitate to check back in and see what the upcoming topics are. All right. Question number 1. What are the differences during a medical emergency? The stuff just hits hard. There's not really anything easy about this. None of us really want to be facing these emergencies, but you know, the emergencies happen. And I was just meeting with a gal yesterday whose brother, her brother, his wife, so it's her sister-in-law, 48 years old, dropped over dead from a heart attack. And, you know, stuff's not organized. Their financial house, you know, I mean, they're financially okay, but it's a mess. The records, the bill paying, she took care of all of that. Didn't have a will, didn't have a trust, and now there's a whole lot of questions, especially for them. It's a blended family. They have they have children from prior relationships, and it comes when we least expect it. In Arizona, right here, this state that we're in, maybe the numbers actually will be a little better on this because of COVID. Less people on the roads maybe, but the last statistics that I saw for the number of fatalities, the number of deaths in Arizona due to car accidents, this is something completely out of our control. There's 3 people every single day, 3 people in Arizona. This is you. This is me driving out to go get some groceries on my way to work, on my way home from work. This is, my wife. God, my wife's out running around errands right now. We just don't know when that moment is going to hit us and completely change everything. We just cannot understate the importance of getting this done. And there's Mr. Rex. He's our dog. Yes, I'm working from home. This is the new normal, right? We cannot wait a moment to be prepared for this. So if you're not 100% prepared for this stuff, this is your call. This is your moment. This is your time where you've got a chance to do something about it. And that's why you're here. You were called to be here for a reason. In this first lesson, what happens during a medical emergency? What are the differences? I had no idea that there was medical emergencies that had to do with estate planning lawyers until I got into the business. I was a smart guy. I got an engineering degree at top of my class. Smart guy, got into law school. Graduated near the top of that class. I didn't know anything about it until I actually got in the business. And there's actually this whole probate nightmare thing that happens while we're alive. It's atrocious. Arizona's lifetime probate is one of the worst in the country. It is one of the worst in the country. It's called conservatorships and guardianships. So, and it's triggered in an emergency if all your ducks aren't in a row already. Because once that emergency happens and you can no longer communicate or tell the doctors what to do, you can't fix it. Your family's rushing off and going down to probate court. Well, they won't know that. Somebody will tell them, you need guardianship, you need conservatorship. And they'll ask, what does that mean? And they'll say, we don't know. We're a doctor. We're a medical office. We're a bank. They'll say, go find a lawyer. And someone in the community is going to refer them to us, and we're going to have to break the news. We're going to have to break the news to them. This means now the rest of your life is going to be controlled by the court. That's what that means. The rest of your life is going to be controlled, overseen, monitored, accounted for, decided on by the court. So here's your first 3 big differences between a will and a trust. They happen during that emergency. The first one is like this gal. Her and her husband have been married 20-some years, and she called because exactly what happened. Somebody said her husband had a stroke, so he was in the hospital, unconscious. He couldn't do anything. Somehow she heard from his employer saying, hey, he's got some stock options that are going to expire forever in 3 weeks. Did you guys want to exercise those? Because some stock options, you just say yes and you get a whole bunch of money. Well, she said, oh my God, my husband, he's in the hospital. I don't know what to do. And they said, well, good, give us, don't you have your estate plan? And no, she didn't have their estate plan in order. Well, what do I do? And they said, you can get a court order, become his conservator. And she said, how do I do that? She gets referred to us. I explained to her the process. We have to file and get a court order. Basically, you have to file a lawsuit against your husband so that a judge can say, oh, let me look over the situation and give you permission to do this. And that's what happened. Now, the stock options were enough that it made dollars financial sense for her to spend, I think it was over $10,000 to get that court order. The court had to appoint a separate attorney to represent the husband, had to get an accountant involved, had to get the medical reports, and a court-appointed investigator who's a social worker to look over everything. And so we got the court order, rushed down to court. She's able to go back to his work, exercise the stock options, get all that money, and literally about a week later, he starts to wake up and recover, and he ends up having a full recovery, thank God. A will does not let you do anything during that temporary illness. Nothing. You have no power. Your family has no power. They can't make any financial decisions about anything during that temporary illness, or even just a temporary absence, right? We've had I've known lots of people recently during the COVID shutdown who were actually out of the country and they weren't allowed back in, so they had to stay. I know a few of those examples. So if you're just temporarily gone, right, a will can't do anything. Nobody can help you take care of business. Nobody can help medical decisions for you during that time period. A will does nothing for you while you're still alive. That's the first thing. The second big difference is that, we hear more and more about dementia and Alzheimer's becoming such a bigger problem in our with our seniors, and those are just such heartbreaking diseases. They can go on for so long. That's what's so scary about them. We had a week, this was a couple months ago, where I had two gals come in my office, and they were in their early 50s. These were especially bad situations, and their husbands had been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and we're going to have to retire from work, and we're going to have to basically figure out where they're going to live and how they're going to get taken care of. They still have teenagers at home. Really, really ugly situation. And they're just looking ahead going, is this going to last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? It's a long-term problem. And not is it just going to be a medical problem, but there's going to be financial problems that are going to devastate them if they don't plan, right? But there's also the issue of, can they make all the decisions that are needed to be made over those next 5, 10, 20 years? It's the second thing between a will and a trust. A will, you cannot make decisions over the long term for someone. Okay? With a trust, you can. That's the point of a trust, is to take care of the emergency, short term, and that long term, right? While someone's still alive, being able to take care, protect them, take care of your loved ones, or let your loved ones take care of you. Those are the first two differences. And the third one is what happens after death. So after death, a will, that's when it finally triggers and becomes something that can be used. It can't be used before death. It can finally be used after death. That's one of the differences. Is a trust works before and after. A will only works after death. Here's something that most people don't know. If all you have is a will, it has to be filed in probate in order to be declared valid so it can be used. So for your family to carry out the wishes and go around and collect and distribute things, they're going to have to go through probate. And in Arizona, the probate after death can be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for simple cases. And it's going to last a couple years. When you have a trust, though, okay, the fees are usually a lot less, sometimes none in really simple situations. But the really neat thing is that it's so much simpler for your family. They don't have to go to court. They don't have to hire lawyers who are going to court. There's so many things that are easier and simpler for them to do what they need to do. So what is a trust? So a revocable living trust is a private arrangement, private document that owns your stuff, that's controlled by you, easy to change, very hard to challenge. Like I said, with probably over 1,000 trusts that we've done in my office, we've had 0 of them overturned, successfully challenged by beneficiaries. So when an unhappy beneficiary, right, they can always try to sue, but so far, the few times it has happened, they ended up with no wins. It's just a much better arrangement for your affairs. And basically in Arizona, revocable living trusts are like the new will. It does what you think a will should do. It makes it easy for your family. It says who gets your stuff, avoids probate, keeps it private. You can change it whenever you want. It just is the new will. And it's not even like they're harder to set up. I mean, they're just not. With computer technology and things, every single lawyer out there who does a lot of these uses software. So it's not hard to get the technical things out onto the page. Where the value comes from working with someone is the counseling, the questions, the answers, the discipline to help you follow through, and the accountability really to make sure you're honoring what you say you want. Because sometimes we'll get clients who be like, oh, I really shouldn't leave money to this one kid because he's kind of a troublemaker. Well, nah, just give it to him. I don't care. I'll be, he'll figure it out. I'll be dead. What do I care? It's like, ouch, come on. We love our families. Let's not treat them like we don't. So what went wrong in these scenarios that we just talked about, those horror stories? People are just out there living and minding their own business. I think the last time ARP did a study, they found that only about 15% of people had their affairs in order. They had a will, they had a trust, they had their power of attorneys, medical documents. Only 15%. If you're one of the 15%, good for you. If you're already one of our clients, even better. You're in that, upper echelon of, hey, they've never had a plan that went south. So you're among really a high caliber group of people. If you're in that other 85%, all that happened is, you're living your own life. When the emergency happens, boom, you get a lifetime with the court. Nobody wants that. But it's literally like a custody battle for the rest of your life. Doesn't end when you turn 18, it ends when you pass away. What should you do? Get the plan done, check that box off, and then live your life in peace, because if emergency happens, your family will know exactly what to do. Okay? That's what a revocable living trust does. Now remember, a will doesn't help in the emergency. Okay? If there's a medical emergency, it's not gonna help in a temporary emergency. A long-term emergency, it's going to be super slow and complicated for them to take care of your business after you pass away. Okay? So let's switch gears. Let me pause on my 6 and actually give you some of the similarities between them. The first one is that you've got to get them done before the emergency. You just have to. This can't be fixed after the fact. There's a newspaper article about a couple who lives in Sun City on the other side of town from our office, and because I'm in the business, I wonder, how do people get to retirement and not know this stuff is needed? Anyway, they're in their late retirement years, and his wife is hit with Alzheimer's. He goes to start to take some money out of her IRA in order to pay bills, and that's when he first learns, oh, you need a power of attorney for your wife. And so he goes to a lawyer to try to get one, and the lawyer says, hey, she's already got Alzheimer's. You can't do this after the fact. And so now he's stuck going through the whole court, guardianship, conservatorship, nightmare, expensive situation. You know, he thought, I'll fix this when it's broken, like a flat tire. Well, I'm not going to change my tire until it goes flat. Well, there's probably a better way to deal with life, right? We want to change those tires before they get flat. So that's the first thing, is that it's got to be done, whether you do will or trust, it's got to be done before the emergency. The second thing is, whether you do a will or a trust, when do you want this thing to be relevant? When do you want it to be valid? Just ask yourself, or answer yourself. If you have your instructions laid out in writing, when do you want that to be declared or deemed or read? At what point in time, at what stage of your life do you want that to be declared, deemed valid? We don't need it deemed valid today while we're sitting here upright and healthy listening to the web class. We need that thing to be deemed or declared, or whatever word you want to use, valid, some unknown day in the future, which is probably why so many people wait to do it. It's because, you know, I'm not going to die today. And yeah, I mean, give us a ball. I'll help you. Because we believe that taking care of our families is one of the most important things in the world. We believe we should do these now while we know we can, and not wait, right? That's why we buy car insurance. It's why we buy health insurance. It's why we buy life insurance. It's why we change the air filters in our house. It's why we have our tires changed before they blow up. It's why we change the oil in our car before our engine melts down and seizes. It's why we go to the doctor and get a physical. We do it because it's just, we care about our families. We don't want to become the burden on them. So, knowing that both a will and a trust, you got to get it done, but then it's got to be kept up to date until the end. It's just kind of a reality that most lawyers don't talk about. They sort of bury that in the fine print in their discussions and plans. And I wasn't even going to say this, but a dirty little secret that I learned, I don't know, a long time ago, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, was that, I mean, the way I was trained how to do wills and trusts is, you know, certain order, certain way, good training, very in-depth, very technical, very legal, lots of, you know, jargon you have to learn, a lot of strategy you have to learn, and putting plans in place that are really good, really comprehensive, except for this one little piece of fine print that goes into every single plan. You want to know what that is? It's a little paragraph that is not even part of your trust. It's a part of the contract, the service agreement you have with the lawyer that says, you know, we, you know, future something or other. We don't guarantee these documents will be valid or your plan will be carried out as you intend in any day in the future, because the laws might change, your life might change, the people in your plan might change, your assets might change, our recommendations might change, and so therefore we have no liability, and in fact you will indemnify us if anybody sues for those problems. And that is literally tucked into every single plan that I did before I started my own firm. Or I should say, before we started the Trust Care program. And when you really dig into that, and I started to dig in and go, what the heck? Why Why are we doing all of this if we're not taking any responsibility for it? And it kind of is, it's just the industry norm. It just is the industry norm. It's accepted practice. And it's hard. It's hard to get people, it's hard to get clients to do what they're supposed to do. And so they just completely wash their hands of it. And then the flip side is that, hey, there's another whole industry here. If we just do thousands and thousands and thousands of these super duper cheap wills and trusts and just grind them out, and we have no liability for them anyway, but our name, not my name, but these other firms' names, are now all over these documents. And they're probably not going to work given, I mean, I have to assume that because there's so much probate, your family's going to call them for the probate work. And it's actually a known business model in my industry. You just do thousands of these $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 wills and trusts, and you just get your name all over thousands of them, and then you'll basically have a pipeline of probate work down the road because your clients will start to have problems. And it just is it's a disgusting business model. So yes, you've got to get these done. Whether you do a will or trust, it's got to be kept up to date. So we get phone calls from family members every single day, with questions about problems they're having because a will or a trust or a power of attorney wasn't kept up to date. It's 5 years old, it's 10 years old, and somebody's giving them grief. And a lot of the times we just have to say, yeah, we get it. They didn't keep it up to date. So, for you to take care of your mom's bills, we've got to go to court. And now your mom has created the situation where you're going to be, working 20 hours a week to figure this whole stuff out. You may have to take some time off of work from your job to deal with all the court hearings, meetings we're going to need to have with you. And you're almost guaranteed that you're going to basically, live through this until mom or dad passes away. And that is the conversation we have to have. I don't want you to have that I don't want your kids to have that conversation with us. So get it done and then keep it up to date. What we recommend, what we've seen so far with the hundreds of clients we've done, is that a once-a-year check-in actually has prevented all of our clients from going through that mess. It has kept them protected once a year. And I'll describe some details about how we do that in just a few minutes. This was a good example. A single lady came in, she had life savings, she had home equity, and one of the things that we like to do, especially if it feels daunting for you, if this is the first time you're ever really creating an estate plan, it can feel daunting, I get that. Then we help you with what we call quick 1-minute decisions, because your first real estate plan is not going to be your last one, it's your first one. So let's get the first one out of the way. And then later we can make more complicated, more sophisticated, more impressive decisions that are sort of the next levels, and that's fine. Or if you're happy with the 1-minute decisions, fine, we stay there too. So what she did, she's like, 1-minute decision, 1-minute decision, 1-minute decision, let's go with that. And as she lives life, we can tweak that and modify it. Each year, 15 minutes, we go through a checklist, we rapid fire, anything on this. I think we've got 30-something things that we go through. And if any one of those is oh yeah, that is something new, then we have a little bit longer discussion on it. But it's simple, it's easy, it's quick. And when you do that, you're going to save your family tens of thousands of dollars of grief in probate fees, tens of thousands. So here, This gal, her emergency probate easily would have been $50,000 to set up. And then those lifetime probate cases, they come with an annual cost of about $10,000 per year as well. It's ridiculously expensive. Completely would avoid all that. Completely would keep your kids from becoming a burden on your kids. And that's, for me, that's a huge success. That keeps our independence, that helps you keep your independence and freedom so that your kids won't ever, think of, oh my gosh, this is such a burden. So the secret out of the second section here is really that we encourage you, if this is the first time you've ever done a real estate plan, where you have some thorough counseling and some thorough evaluation of your options, then go ahead, start quick, get it done. If this is your first time working with us, maybe you've done a will or trust in the past, and you think, oh my gosh, wow, Francisco, that sounds really complicated and painful. I don't know if I want to try to do this. It sounds great, but oh my gosh. We have a quick way for you to start too. Because you've already done a lot of the legwork, you've probably done a lot of the thinking, and so we can kind of just make that a lot easier for you. So start quick, get the baseline done, and then get on a pattern of keeping it up to date. If you're going to do this yourself, schedule it, a reminder, maybe like when you do your taxes every year. Do my taxes, review my estate plan. Do my taxes, review my estate plan. Do my taxes, review my estate plan. You're smart. If you want to invest the time to learn and do this yourself, go for it. Just get on that pattern of doing it once a year. All right. Let's switch back to the differences. Here we go. Question number 3. Who is going to control the money and property under a will versus a trust? Who do you think is going to control the money and the property? That is not a picture of my office, I promise. It's a picture of many lawyers' offices that I know. And shame on them. That is an absolute nightmare. I just grabbed that picture, and it's not anybody I know, but I know too many people that their office looks like that on the left. What your kids, what your spouse wants your office to look like is that picture on the right. That's what they want it to look like. This is just an illustration. This is the image for me of what we went through for one of our clients whose mom, elderly, and she was diagnosed with dementia, had to be moved into a memory care home. And her daughter, she didn't have any children who live in the state. She had 3 kids, has 3 kids. The one who's supposed to be in charge of everything lived in the Midwest, and so came out here, was able to take about a month off of work to help get mom organized, get all the bills organized, make sure everything was in order. And she gets to mom's house and basically, I can imagine, sees something like the picture there on the left. And this is with mom, who has early symptoms of dementia. Wow. So she starts to dig in. A month, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. She finally resigns from her job and moves all her own personal belongings out here. She doesn't have a family of her own, and realizes she's going to be here for a long time. Between taking care of mom's medical issues and mom's financial issues and just all the affairs of mom's life, it basically became a full-time job. It's now 5 years later, and we are finally closing the book on mom's financial life is organized. We finally have the whole thing organized. It literally took 5 years because, a year in, we would get a whole bunch of annual statements. Another year in, we would get some that we never saw before. 6 months later, we'd she'd find another box that has a couple new weird statements from 10 years ago that now have to be called on. And it was like that basically for 5 years. And finally, we've got a whole, everything is accounted for. So who's going to do this? If you only have a will does not let someone take care of your financial affairs while you're alive. It just gives them no authority whatsoever. Not at all. A trust does. It does. It lets someone take care of the bills. Okay? With a trust, what we recommend is having a asset report. Have a verified list that you or someone has verified the ownership and the beneficiary of everything. And I'm not talking about, the tchotchkes on the wall and the stuff we keep in the house, unless it's for valuable, either dollar-wise or even sentimental-wise, because the family, people can get hurt over that. But what you want is a asset report of any financial account, any real estate, vehicles, investments, insurance, everything that requires you to do business with somebody else. You've got to have all of that inventoried. Now, wills, they can't control or help with any of that. Okay? With a trust, they can. Same thing on a will. That doctor would have not been able to help her mom at all with the doctor's appointments. Nothing whatsoever. Can't help at all. So guess what? All of mom's personal care wishes and her personal care needs, her desires, not at all private, because now the daughter is like asking everybody, well, what would mom want if this? What would mom want if that? And it's kind of like airing her dirty laundry. It's just no longer private. And then the third difference with regard to the money is that under a will, your money is going to end up being spent in probate court, both while you're alive and after you pass away. So you're going to end up losing a couple $100,000 there, because the lifetime probate is very expensive to set up and maintain. The after-death probate, again, it's a 2 to 3 year long project, and it's going to be another $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 if there's no fighting. Whereas with a trust, all your personal needs are going to be private. All your financial affairs are going to be maintained and managed under your trust. And your money will only be used to take care of you. It's not going to the lawyers. It's not going to the probate system. It's not going to any of those court-appointed professionals that the court has to appoint if you don't have this stuff in place. All of that is dependent on having one of these verified trust asset reports. It's just critical. It's got to all be documented there. Otherwise, you're going to become this giant time-suck burden on one of your kids. All right, so your trust asset report must verify both your owners and your beneficiaries. Okay? All right, let's take a breath. And what I'm going to switch to next is, let me just ask. So one of the things that we get tons of questions, right, from people, from clients. They just, questions, like what we do all day long. I want to show you guys, if I could show you how, if all of these things, if I could show you how to protect all of these things so that you don't have to worry about it anymore, I hope that would be worth it. What I want to show you is how we do that, okay? How we do that for our clients, because I know this, you can come to all these web classes. They're free. Sign up, come to them. We've already done about a month. We've got about, I think we've done maybe 4 weeks. Yes, we should have about 2 months left. I know it's all of July and most of August. You're going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, but you totally need to learn this stuff, okay? Come back, keep learning. What I'm going to describe next is how we do this for our clients. So if you're already a client of ours, if you're already a TrustCare member, which is awesome, good for you, come back, keep getting educated on this stuff. You don't need to go through this process to start over. You just don't. If you're a current Trust Care member, you're good. You can call anytime you want. You know that there's no charges for those quick phone calls or emails. And then your annual checkup, you'll get your annual checkup, and whatever needs to happen out of that, good, you're good to go. If you ever did a trust with me before and you're not a Trust Care member, you can definitely get back on. There's a different process for you. We've got a special process built to get you back on and enrolled and up to date. If you've never done a will or trust with me before, then stick around. Let me describe specifically the step-by-step process that we go through to help people get this completely squared away. You'll be able to see, okay, this is what would happen. So let's dig into that. This is the quick summary snapshot so that you can answer if you've taken care of your family. If all you've done it is with a will, you don't have these 6 things. Okay, just a quick recap. It's not going to be easy for your family to help during a temporary illness. It's not going to be easy for your family to help during a prolonged illness. It is not going to be simple for your family to help immediately after your death. Your personal care needs, they're not going to be private. Your affairs are not going to be kept private if all you have is a will. And your money, it's going to be used to pay probate, to pay lawyers, to pay all these professionals that have to get involved to take care of your affairs. If you have a trust and you keep it up to date, all those things, you can say, I've taken care of my family. You can celebrate and say you've taken care of your family. And for those dads out there, we're always trying to be a little bit weird. And there he is, the guy on the floor, dad, being weird. You can take care of your family too. Happy Father's Day. So here's how folks become new clients of ours and join the Trust Care membership and become part of that community of people who know at the highest levels, I've done everything I can to make sure my family's taken care of. And my family's going to know I'm not going to be the burden on them that otherwise I would have. So first thing is generally folks come to one of these education things. Now we used to do all of these in person, so I would bring you down to a hotel and serve you a nice lunch or dinner. I'd bring you down to our office and our conference rooms, or I'd bring you to, a library or community center. But given COVID and all the changes that has brought, we're doing these online. So congratulations for being here on this web class. That's generally the first step, just because this stuff takes a lot of learning. So we try to do as much of it as we can in group settings. The second thing, the next step, if you have never done a trust with us before, is to schedule your first private appointment. I'll describe that here in just a second. And it's at that private appointment where you decide whether you want to work with us or not. You don't have to. It's really a no obligation deal. You meet with somebody on my team. They go through the process, explain to you, a lot of questions get answered, and you say yay or nay, and life goes on. If the answer is no, there's no harm. I'm sure you will have gotten a ton of value out of it, and you'll be able to make some good decisions for your family based on what you learn. If you do choose to move forward, then the third step is building. That's where we start to build out your stuff. If you want to do it quick, we do 1-minute decisions and we get it done. If you want to dig in and really invest in your education, then you can do that too, and we can build it up as much as you want. That's generally the process. Pretty simple, makes it nice and easy. We are the only firm that I know of in the country that gives a no probate guarantee around our trust plans. So all of our services are flat fee services. They're kind of built into packages, because if you do a lot of these, anybody who does a lot of these knows what they need to do and should be able to offer these as packages. So they're all flat fees. They're priced ahead of time. Nothing's by surprise. And so we go over those with you during that private appointment. I used to try to answer questions in group settings about prices and things, but then it just became like this one-on-one conversation that I felt embarrassed the other person, because I had to ask a whole bunch of private questions to actually give them a price. So I'll just give you the range. For those of you who want every single bell and whistle and just, you want the full asset protection, every kind of tax strategy there is, you want just super strong hand holding, you want that white glove, we're going to the bank with you, just everything, we're driving you around town, you want that level of service, then we're looking, you're looking at the fees in the range of $20,000, $40,000, $100,000. We don't do many of those, but those are that's what we do under those kinds of plans. Our plans start all the way at about $1,600. So we do basic will plans. They start at about $1,600. And then it's just, anywhere in that range there. What's nice about how we build this is you get to choose. You just totally get to choose. So you sit down and have a private appointment and find out, and you pick what you want to pay is basically what it is. Who should be a trust care member? Well, okay, so I hope you know enough about me that I'm an optimist. I'm not a half glass empty kind of guy. Every situation that comes at me, I'm like, okay, how can we turn this around for the good? And I'm just not a grumpy cat. And I have to say most of our clients aren't either. If you can't spot who the grumpy person in the room is, maybe, I'm just kidding. So we want to enjoy who we work with, and likewise, we want you to enjoy working with us. If you're looking for black suit and tie, lined walls, and the 44th floor of a high-rise building, you're just not going to find that with us. And there are firms where you can find that. But that's just not us. We have a beautiful office in downtown Ocotillo, part of Chandler. Right now, we're serving clients virtually all over the state through video meetings, kind of like this one, and phone calls and emails, and through our secure client portal, and then with remote meetings when necessary, if we need to send out a notary to do a signing or something. As far as the asset side, generally speaking, anybody who owns at least a home and has some money in the bank, our kind of minimum is about $100,000 when you combine everything, savings, checking, investments, retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, all of those added up. If it's more than $100,000, then it makes total sense for you to work with us, and we work with a lot of people in that $100,000 to $1 million net worth range. That's our most common group of clients. What happens at that first appointment? So here's what it is. The first appointment is called a discovery hour. It is for you to discover 3 things, right? And then for us to learn about these 3 things from you so that we know what's going on, okay? Your issues, your goals, and your options. So you're going to spend that time really digging into, all right, what are the issues? You're going to tell me about your family, tell me about your assets, tell me about what you've done in the past, tell me about what hasn't worked, tell me about why this is important to you, and then, okay, tell me about your goals. How do you want this to look? What do you want your family to experience? What do you want to make sure your family never experiences? So we know what your goals are, and then, okay, using those things, we can say, all right, here's the options that are probably relevant for you. It's like a menu, right? You want the hamburger plus a side of bacon, and the French fries aren't right for you. Let's do a side. We recommend a side salad, whatever, right? That's kind of how you'd experience our discovery hour, and you literally walk out of that with clarity. So you can decide what's right for your family. So you go, okay, now I know. It's this, that, and the other thing. Now I know. And during that process, you get an exact quote for whatever the cost of those things are, and you get to step right forward. So, and you also get a bunch of tangible things out of this. The Discovery Hour value is $500. You get just a ton of value out of it. We'll give you a personal information book organizer to organize your financial life. You can just go use it. We'll give you myths of financial security. This is one of my favorite things. I don't even have time to talk about it. But as an estate planning lawyer, I have learned and experienced too many clients who've been ripped off by annuity salesmen, financial advisors, people who claim to be independent but yet are being paid big, giant back-end commissions, and clients just don't even know it because all these commissions are hidden. It's basically like, oh, you got an 8% return. You should have got a 12% return, but I kept the difference, is never disclosed. So we give everybody the myths of the financial security, and it's provided by our sister company, Keystone Law Partners. They do an incredible job of making sure you just know exactly what it is, and you get to go do whatever you want with that information. We'll give you successor trustee handbooks so that your successor trustee knows what to do. They have some instructions, so you're not just leaving them, in a lurch, completely blind. And then a digital copy of my first book, Pack Your Parachute. I'd love for you to have a copy of that. That goes through 12 more things that I don't have time to cover today, and you'd have that as my gift so you can learn as much of this as you possibly want. And the total value of that hour and everything you get out of that is $1,400, huge value out of that. Imagine if you can just walk out of that meeting and say, I know exactly what I need to do. I don't have to worry about this anymore. Even if you don't do anything with us, you now have completely freed your mind from worry about this. You just know, all right, now I know. I don't need to think about it. When I'm ready, I can pull the trigger. $1,400 value. We do charge for that just to make sure that you're committed to that time, because my staff is going to be committed to that time for you. It's $125. We do give 100% satisfaction guarantee, even on that appointment. If for any reason you were to walk out of that and say, that was a waste of my time, we'll refund it. We'll just say, how can we make it better? And I do that guarantee because I want my staff to always be delivering value to you. You. And so that helps me make sure they give you great value for it. But my team, they're always beating me up on this stuff. So they asked me to give a discount. And so we're doing it for $75. So $75 for an hour with our client relations manager, and she's specifically trained to go through and make sure your issues, we understand those, your goals, we understand those, so we don't drag you off into some irrelevant project, and what your options are. And then there's no commitment, there's no obligation. If you choose to just pack up and go home, fine. If you want to move forward, then that's the day where you say, you know what, I don't know the answers today, but that's okay. Let's just get started. And that's what we do. We help you get started. So if you want to do that, that special deal will be available until 8 o'clock tonight. So you have some time between now and 8 to jump on our website right there. That's our special scheduler, and you'll just go right there, www.bit.ly/Keystone appointment, and it'll give you the option to schedule within the next 2 weeks. Just find a time that works for you, and you'll be ready to go. There's nothing you really need to prepare for that appointment. You don't have to, though you can if you want to. You don't need to organize your financial life. You don't need to make all the decisions before you get to the appointment. Don't try to make any decisions before you get to the appointment. Just come to the appointment open-minded so that we can help you learn how to make the decisions that you need to make, because you're going to be making some. You don't need to gather up old documents if you can't find them. Just come with an open mind, learn, and if it feels right, you can choose to move forward, and we'd be happy to work with you if it does feel right. At that appointment, if you move forward, that's where you'll get the information and all the help you need to gather things that we will need. You won't be asked to you won't be asked to name your executor at your first appointment, or even, maybe your second appointment if you're ready, but you're not going to be asked to make any of those big decisions until we're building your plan and you're comfortable with it. If you're married, we do say, you both are required. And unless you are not doing an estate plan with your spouse, if you have a life partner and you want them to come along, you're more than welcome. But you have to do separate plans if you both need a plan. You know, we have a 24-hour cancellation policy, all those kind of boring things that law offices have to have. I don't know. I think that's it. If you have questions, please call the office, 480-209-6942, and be happy to answer them. Or you can always email team@keystonelawfirm.com, team, T-E-A-M, at keystonelawfirm.com, and we'll make sure you get them answered. Though, if you're a new client to us, almost guarantee you that the answer will be, oh yeah, that's a great question. That gets answered when you come to a discovery hour. So just be prepared for that. But if there's no other questions, then we look forward to meeting with you. Come back next week for next week's web class. The topic is going to be a little bit higher level. We're going to go a little bit deeper, a little bit more advanced into some estate planning strategies. So I invite you back for that. If you know anybody who should be learning those advanced estate planning strategies, let them know. They can sign up on our website on our events page. They're all published right there, and you can just sign right up. Otherwise, everybody have a great day. Stay safe out there. I encourage you to still find ways to connect with your family, with your friends. There's nothing more important than the relationships that we build. So definitely find ways to connect, guys. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming.